Okay, lesson 26. We continue reading from the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, chapter 1. In the previous session we had the introduction of asanas. Here Svatmarama makes a kind of a switch, and he introduces a kind of another category of asanas. You will see. Sutra 33. The asanas propounded by Shiva are 84 in number. Of those I shall describe 4, which are the quintessence. We had the introduction of asanas. Generally, asanas are special. They have an impact. They lead to an increase of strength, an increase of energy, an increase of health. That eventually leads to the cultivation of characteristics in a human being that we consider them so special that we call them royal characteristics. Hence the name Hatha Yoga. What it is about in practice, or in a practical sense, really is awakening of consciousness, opening up of the heart, which every human being can achieve, provided that you follow a certain pattern, a certain systematic approach that yoga clearly presents us. For most people, asana is just an exercise, albeit surrounded with a little source of mystery. There are not so many people that truly believe that these asanas have a deep impact, actually do lead to transformation, awakening consciousness. And the reason for that is simple. It is the doubting Thomas phenomenon. If things are not concrete, easy to grasp, easy to see, easy to smell, easy to touch, it doesn't exist. That is how most people, in their limited way, perceive the world around us. But we started with the premise that according to yoga, everything is energy. Everything. And energy can be directed, can be controlled, can be cultivated. And it leads to wonderful manifestations. So after first understand that all asanas are special if you do them correctly. But he makes a subcategory here where he says, well, these are even propounded by Shiva. Not Machendra, the first human being, but the God who created the first human being. So by saying this, using symbolical language, he's indicating this is even better than what you learned before. There are 84 propounded by Shiva. We will have a look at only 4 of those. which are the quintessence of the 84. So the most powerful of those 84 are being presented here. Sutra 34. These four, Shida, Padma, Simha, and Bhadra, are the most excellent. Of these four, the most comfortable, Shidasana, can always be assumed. It's funny that Svatmarama suggests that Siddhasana is the most comfortable, because actually it is not. It is, however, a very special asana, awkward if you don't understand it, but it is a very powerful Kundalini exercise. Sutra 35. The Siddhasana is now described. Press the perineum with the base of the left heel and place the other foot firmly above the pubis. Keep the chin steadily on the chest. Remain motionless with the sense organs under control. And with steady vision, look at the spot between the eyebrows. This is called Siddhasana. It throws open the door to emancipation. The second half of the sutra makes clear that this is a meditation exercise. It's not just a physical posture. Remain motionless with the sense organs under control. That means you are practicing pratyahara, detachment, which we will start discussing next week, which is inherent part of concentration meditation. So remain motionless with the sense organs under control, and with steady vision look at the spot between the eyebrows. You don't do that literally as some people do, ending up sitting like this. It is a mental exercise, concentration. You can replace that by concentrating on nada. Steady vision is concentration, not allowing distraction or disruption. The spot between the eyebrows is the third eye, which is connected to the center of the head. So nada is your most powerful tool here and the least complicated. It's simply a concentration meditation exercise. A very special one, because using the power of the mind, you're going to pull up energy from the bottom. This is called Siddhasana. It throws open the door to emancipation. What is emancipation? Emancipation is a kind of liberation that brings you back to the essence of yourself, your true self. Not what your parents told you to believe and to do, not what your government taught you to think, to do, and to believe, but beyond that, what you truly feel yourself, going back to yourself. That is emancipation. Is that possible through a single exercise? That is not the point. If you practice yoga correctly, the entirety of your yoga practice leads to emancipation. Self-realization occurs from the very beginning, from the most basic, simple exercises. It already occurs. The fact that it's mentioned here means that this exercise has as a special quality that it reinforces that process to a high level. How? Emancipation is one of the side effects of the opening up of the crown chakra, of the awakening of consciousness. Because in the process of awakening consciousness, the first thing you investigate is yourself, everything that you feel and think, at everything that you find in your past and are looking forward to in your future. So that's a natural process. Now, how does it work? I already scared you a little bit by saying that in contrast with what Svatmarama is saying, this is not the easiest pose among those four. If you follow the text, you notice that you do something very particular, something very awkward. You're going to sit on your heel. And that heel is pinching the spot between the anus and the penis, the root of the penis, or the vagina. Not comfortable at all. But why would you do something like this? Why would you do something like this? Because Muladhara Chakra is at the bottom of the spine, at the center of which there is Surya Bindu. And Surya Bindu is the entrance of not only Shakti, but Shakti in a reinforced form is Kundalini. So you sit on your heel to acutely draw your attention to the spot where that energy comes in. Many people are in fact lacking consciousness in the groin. And when you're lacking consciousness there, it's difficult to pull up that energy. Sitting on the heel makes it impossible to ignore the groin. That is practically really why you are doing this. So, as the sutra suggests, this is a meditation exercise. So first you settle in the pose. If you sit fully on your heel, it's painful. So tilt the pelvis, the back gently hollow, with your hands on your knees. And if you do that correctly, 2/3 of your weight is actually on your knees and only 1/3 on your heel. Sit straight, apply the throat lock, close your eyes. Third eye is replaced by nada. Simply concentrate on nada. And because you feel that discomfort in your groin, let that be the starting point of energy rising up. So it's like sucking up the water in Vashti. It's like taking in Shakti energy in the first stage of Nadishodhana Pranayama. But now you do that in a turbocharged form. You do it on steroids. You solely focus on taking in a huge amount of energy through Surya Bindu, through the bottom. And the discomfort of sitting on the heel simply makes it impossible to not being able to focus there. Concentration, intense concentration on nada will pull that energy up. The concentration on nada works like a draft horse. Okay, when you're done, you gently come off, slide off your heel, and just sit in Sukhasana for a moment. Allow the energy to settle for a moment. Then you switch and you sit on the other heel, which is probably described in the next sutra. If you cannot do, by the way, if you cannot do a half lotus, not everybody can do that, you keep your foot on the ground like this. But try to avoid ending up sitting like this, with the hips tilted. Many people end up sitting like this. unknowingly. So try to correct it by activating the muscles in the thighs and the hips to get yourself to sit straight again. Hollow back, the hips tilted, hands on the knees, tuck in the chin, concentration on nada, and on the discomfort in the groin to pull up. Huge amount of energy. How long do you do this? As long as it feels good. You can get off your heel whenever you feel like. If you understand the practicality of this pose, sitting on the heel, then you also understand that you do not do this in a ritualistic way. You do this for the purpose. Sitting on the heel, you do for the purpose of overcoming the lack of consciousness in the groin, which is the only way to open up Surya Bindu and allow larger amounts than normal to flow in. That also means that after a while of practicing, not only this exercise, but yoga in general, including your meditation and pranayama, and you more and more become familiar with the sense of energy, the feeling of energy, you can pull in large amounts of kundalini or shakti energy without sitting on the heel. So it's a temporary stage, sitting on the heel. At some point, you can have the same effect concentrating without actually sitting on the heel. And because it's a very important exercise, not only one or two sutras are dedicated to this exercise, you will see. He cannot stop talking about it. Sutra 36, according to another view, placing the left ankle above the pubis and keeping the other ankle above it is Siddhasana. Sutra 35, he tells you to sit on the left heel, and in Sutra 36, he tells you to do that by switching the feet. 37. Some say this is Shidasana. Others know it as Vajrasana. Some call it Muktasana, and others speak of it as Guptasana. Why does Svatmarama tell us there are multiple different kinds of names? What is the benefit of knowing these names? To understand that, we have to look at the meaning of these Sanskrit words. Siddhasana, Shida. Shida is a person who possesses the siddhis, the supernatural or paranormal abilities, which occur as a result of the transformation that you go through. So it's a symbolical way to indicate the power of this pose. Vajrasana, that is an interesting one. Vajra is a flash of lightning, which of course tells us about the power of energy that this exercise is providing us. A flash of lightning Not just energy, but a flash of lightning. It's also called Muktasana. Muktasana, Mukta means liberated. Liberation is like emancipation, is part of the opening consciousness, the awakening process. Liberation. Liberation from all your conditioning that I mentioned before. How you have been conditioned by your parents, your education, your government, and the modern time that we live in, the huge influence that the media has on us, manipulating our way of thought. Liberation means to be able to go beyond that and form your own opinion, regardless of what you have been indoctrinated with. Guptasana, the last one, the fourth one, is also an interesting one. Gupta means protection, being protected. Yoga in general, and these 4 poses propounded by Shiva in particular, they lead to such increase of energy that it leads to increased health, strength, and consciousness. And possessing all these qualities makes you stronger to all the influences of life. In that sense, being protected from all the challenges of life. So this is just his way of telling us how valuable the exercise is. 38th Sutra. The Siddhas know that as among yamas, a moderate diet is the most important, and among niyamas, harmlessness, so among all asanas, it is the Shidasana. It's another way of emphasizing the importance of the pose. 39th Sutra. He is lyrical, he continues. Of the 84 postures, one should always practice Shidasana. It purifies the 27,000 nadis. Very interesting. We learned that there are 3 nadis. Everybody has 2, Ida and Pingala. But if you practice yoga, Shushumna nadi comes about. But here he says there are actually 72,000 nadis. Not only 2 or 3. Ida and Pingala are symbolical. But the reality is the body is full of energy channels, not only 2 that go from the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom. Purifying the 27,000 nadis tells us one of the qualities of this exercise. How do you purify nadis? By increasing and accelerating the energy that you possess. That is also what you do with Nadi Shodhana Pranayama. You increase and accelerate the energy that you have. Sutra 40. The yogin who, contemplating the self and following a moderate diet, continually practices the Shidasana during 12 years, obtains fulfillment. Fulfillment here means being fully transformed. Having fulfilled the purpose of yoga, which is total integration of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual body working in harmony with each other and being fully awakened, fully conscious. 12 years, according to the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. What he doesn't say here is that Raja Yoga promises that this process takes 4 years. What is the difference? Raja Yoga, you not only practice, which would lead to fulfillment in 12 years, but you focus very much on meditation and studying the whole science of yoga. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and therefore Hatha Yoga, is focusing on the practical aspects of yoga. Raja Yoga is focusing mainly on studying human psychology through yoga philosophy. And it goes very, very deep. It's incredibly interesting. And because of that, it takes only 4 years. That is, of course, superficial, but it's also an indication that the whole package together speeds up the process. And it is. I have met people throughout all those years that I'm teaching yoga that have practiced yoga for years, but have not fully transformed yet, because they practiced diligently, regularly, but they never really focused on meditation, and they never actually studied the yoga philosophy. So the puzzle is not complete if you don't have all these elements together. And you notice yourself also, most of you have been practicing yoga before you ever came here. You notice that everything speeds up now. You notice that everything starts making sense now. Many things you did not see, were not able to see before, now become apparent. (41) When the Siddhasana is mastered, of what use are the various other asanas? When the vital energy is well restrained by the practice of Kevala Kumbhaka, the Unmaniya Vashta, which gives delight, arises of its own without effort. This is a little bit tricky, because he kind of suggests that if you master Shidasana, well, you're done. There's nothing else to do anymore. There are many yoga teachers who have practiced for years and maybe also taught for years, who say, I don't have to practice anymore. The transformation has taken place. I don't need to do all that anymore. And my experience is that that is simply not true. I have been engaged with yoga for 37 years already now. And that is, of course, never 37 years constant practice. There are times that you become distracted, that you have to focus on other aspects of life. One thing is true: when the consciousness awakens, it's like a can that you cannot close anymore. You cannot, the consciousness will not die anymore. So you will always keep that new dimension of consciousness. What does happen when you stop practicing on a fairly regular basis is that your energy is being drawn down again to the lower chakras. You understand the implication of this? Because in spiritual communities, sects and what have you, you very often find abuse. It is the last place where you should find abuse, and yet it is happening there. Why? Because people who have developed, attracted people with their wisdom and their knowledge, and they stop practicing, thinking, I'm a master. I can teach you how to do it, but I don't have to do it myself anymore. Their energy drops down, their consciousness keeps open, but their energy drops down, and they start functioning based on lower emotions and desires again, and then the abuse and the manipulation starts. So it's a misinterpretation of sutras like this that kind of give the impression that, if you have reached a certain level, you can actually just stop engaging in daily practice, in regular practice. My personal experience, practical experience, is that it doesn't work like that. You want to keep your energy up there and not be distracted by lower emotions and desires. You have to keep practicing. Remember also that he several times warns that this should be kept secret, because if injudiciously revealed, it becomes ineffective, but it is very powerful when properly taught. Part of teaching yoga should be what I just told you, that you understand how it works. Because people who transform, open their consciousness, they develop a certain power with which they have control over other people or influence other people. And there is nothing wrong with that as long as you function from the crown chakra and the heart. But it starts going wrong when energy drops down and you start manipulating people not based on your heart, unconditional love, but based upon greed, lower emotions and desires, ego, ambition, and what have you. (42). Oh no, there's much more information in 41. When the vital energy is well restrained by the practice of Kevala Kumbhaka. Kevala Kumbhaka is energy control without structure. If you have practiced pranayama, yoga in general, pranayama in particular, for a certain period of time, you have reconditioned your energy household. Surya Bindu and Chandra Bindu are wide open, and there is unrestricted flow of energy in and out, depending on the condition that you find yourself in. That means that regardless of the condition, you always correct the condition you are in spontaneously. That is Kevala Kumbhaka. After reconditioning through following the steps and going through the systematic framework, you develop the ability to naturally, spontaneously adapt to any kind of change of condition. That is Kevala Kumbhaka. The Unmani Avashta, which gives delight, arises of its own without effort, which is the open crown chakra. Unmani Avashta is the condition where the crown chakra is open. Remember, Unmani is the 3-syllable mantra that corresponds with the crown chakra. Unmani Avashta is the condition in which the crown chakra is open, which is the condition that you're all going towards as a result of your yoga practice. What he is saying here is that your practice leads to the point that the open crown chakra, the functioning crown chakra, becomes a permanent feature, a permanent function of you. But I just told you there is a caveat. Although the crown chakra is open, it's still possible that you start functioning based on lower emotions and desires. And that condition can be dangerous. You have a holy duty to keep your energy on that higher level so that you continue to function from the heart and will not be tempted to end up abusing the powers that you got, that you received. If you look at me, people think in a way I'm a strange yogi, a strange yoga teacher, but actually it all makes sense. If you look at my profile, if I look at my profile, I think, oh, that looks pretty impressive. There was just circumstances that led to that development. But normal people, what do they do if they have such an impressive profile? They will use that to expand their material interest. You start a franchise and you start working with investors and clever business people, and you build a money-making imperium with 100 studios spread out over the land, and if it goes well, you go to other countries and spread them there. Of course, I have had my dreams about expansion and growth and what have you, but it never works because I keep functioning from the heart. And functioning from the heart means that you focus on the essence of what it is all about. That is why I'm not even in the possession of 100 studios. I don't even have one of my own. I'm a wandering yogi and I don't even know if I'm here next week, because if the owner starts making trouble, I might have to look for another place. That might seem to be very strange, but I realize that is part of functioning from the heart. And I also noticed that if you don't give in to the temptations from below the diaphragm, the temptations from the lower chakras with the lower emotions and desires, one of the biggest one of those is fear of the future. The universe comes in and helps you, supports you, but not before you have suffered tremendously, because you have to earn that support. You have to earn that support by keeping your back straight and by not giving up at the most desperate and difficult times in your life, because that is the test the universe gives you to earn the support from those up there. It can be scary sometimes, but fear is in Muladhara chakra, while courage and hope are indeed on the other side of the spectrum in the crown chakra. And with hope and courage, you deal with fear. You cannot eliminate fear. Fear is essential for survival, for our functioning. It tells us, it informs us of danger, and it informs us when we need to find solutions. But if your life is dominated by fear, you have no vision. You have no possibility to keep working with your heart. So the test the universe gives you is you get challenges on your path that test whether you can deal with your fear. And it can get desperate at some times, but that is where you show your true qualities. It is because of this, I hope you understand, it is because of this that in spiritual circles and in religion, it is a sin. It is a sin to commit suicide. You understand why? You understand why? Think about it. Why would it be a sin to commit suicide? Why do you commit suicide in the first place? Out of desperation, sheer fear, shame. It's all below the diaphragm. So in religion and spirituality, to commit suicide means walking away from the most valuable lessons of life. Not only that, if you believe in reincarnation, that same problem will come back later, in a later life. You can never run away from those problems. If you don't face them, it will simply come back. You'll have to go through it. If you walk away from it now, it will come back in the next life. Can you see this? The logic? Why suicide is not a solution? Your most valuable lessons in life are learned in your most desperate times. And it is when we are desperate that we have thoughts of suicide. I've had those thoughts too. Not just once, but multiple times throughout life. Never capable of doing it, or never always finding a way to overcome. And as a result, growing. You grow from overcoming your misery, your challenges, your desperation. It makes you stronger, wiser. It makes you a better human being, a better teacher, a better parent, a better anything. So there's only good things in this situation that people try to avoid. The challenges, the misery, the desperation, in the end are very valuable aspects of life. We don't like it, but in hindsight, it is very possible that you actually appreciate it, because you can see how it has enriched you as a human being. Not only for yourself, but for the people around you. 42. When there is complete mastery of the Shidasana alone, the 3 Bandas follow naturally and without effort. I think I mentioned before that there's a lot ado about nothing where it comes to the Bandas. I've often been asked throughout my years in yoga, the Bandas, yeah, the Bandas. It's like as if talking about something very secret and magical and what have you. No, this Sutra 42 says it actually happens spontaneously, naturally. If you practice yoga in general, well, here, Shidasana in particular, because this is the 8th or the 9th sutra that he is throwing at us to emphasize how special Siddhasana is. It's even so special that the 3 bandhas occur spontaneously and naturally. But it doesn't apply only to Siddhasana, it applies to the whole entirety of your yoga practice. The 3 bandhas, they occur already without you even realizing it, because they are subtle phenomena. 43. There's no asana like the Shida, no kumbhaka like Kevala, no mudra like the Kechari, and no laya like that of the inner sound. Here, Sutra 43, he sums up the essence of yoga, the most valuable aspects of yoga. Siddhasana, of course, he wants to emphasize it's so valuable that it can be compared with Kevala Kumbhakas, your ability to naturally, spontaneously correct your condition. No mudra like the Kechari. Kechari, in the beginning of your yoga practice and study, the emphasis is on Shakti energy and Kundalini. Why? Because the universe is subjected to the law of energy contracting and manifesting to the bottom. And we counter that movement, that natural phenomenon, with Shakti energy, Kundalini, to go up again, so that we can awaken what lies up there. But once you have done that, there is an equivalent to Kundalini, but then the opposite in Shiva energy. Kechari Mudra is the exercise with which you drink that divine nectar, which is Shiva energy on steroids. It's supercharged Shiva energy, like Kundalini is supercharged Shakti energy. So that is the next step. Once you have started the engine, and that fire is burning, and that Kundalini energy is rising, it's time to start paying attention to the opposite side of your being, and start paying attention to taking in large amounts of Shiva. That is Kechari Mudra. And I mentioned drinking the divine nectar, which you find in all holy scriptures from all religions and spiritual philosophies. Drinking holy nectar, or the manna from heaven, is Shiva energy. But Shiva energy on steroids. That is why when you go to an old cathedral in Europe with those stained glass windows, you often see an image of a person who is looking up to heaven and is bathed in a ray of light. It's all symbolism, but it's symbolism for Shiva energy. Kechari Mudra is drinking of ambrosia, soma, the holy, divine drinks that are mentioned in all holy scriptures. It's not a drink, it's not a food, it's energy. That is Kechari Mudra, which is taught in our advanced course. Laya is absorption of the mind. Laya, absorption of the mind, that is a condition where you are a human being has a tendency to function based on thought, and because of that, there is the phenomenon of people having a degree, sometimes 2 or 3 degrees, but when you hear them talk, you think, how is this possible? There is no common sense in what they are saying, no logic, or even with bad words. You think, how can this person be so dumb, so stupid? He is a doctor or a professor, or I'm only simple and I can see the logic there. I can see the common sense there. How is it possible this educated person with degrees and what have you? That is because we are imprisoned in mental functioning. Laya means fusion. And many yoga teachers talk about unity. Sometimes when you ask people what does yoga mean, they will say, oh, unity. Yeah, but what does that mean? Can you explain what is unity and how to bring it about? People don't know. It just sounds interesting and it sounds mysterious, but unity really is the full integration of the 3 bodies, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual body, which in unconditioned people are functioning each separately. The Laya is the wholeness the wholeness of the human being functioning as one entity, not three different levels of functioning. So that is also a result of your yoga practice. He describes here the higher levels of development that occur as a result of yoga practice. And the final one that he mentions is the inner sound, nada, with which he puts nada, which you learned from lesson 1 in this course, he puts that in the category of one of the most important elements of yoga. And yet most yoga teachers have never heard of nada, or if they have read about it like in a book like Hatha Yoga Pradipika, they've never actually realized that it's something that takes place within themselves, which is an indication of a lack of proper initiation, because it's so simple. Sutra 44, up to where are we going today? 49. So Sutra 44. You see what happened here? From Sutra 35 until Sutra 43, that is 9 sutras, he has only been talking about Siddhasana. 44. Then the Patmasana is described. Place the right foot on the left thigh and the left foot on the right thigh. Cross the hands behind the back and firmly take hold of your toes. Place the chin on the chest and look at the tip of the nose. This is called Patmasana. It destroys the diseases of the self-restraint. What is described here is actually Baddha Patmasana. Baddha means restraint. And the restraint is in the hands holding the feet. Now, to be able to grab the feet, you have to make Patmasana very tight. And you have to get rid of the fat around your waist. I used to be able to do this, but I've grown a little bit. This is Patmasana. Baddha Patmasana is with the hand, like Panyan is doing. That is Baddha Patmasana. Patmasana, in the introduction of Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, Svatmarama tells you to sit in Patmasana. And I told you that is the ideal meditation pose, but most people, they either can't do it, or if they can, will become uncomfortable after a couple of minutes sitting in Patmasana. And when you become uncomfortable, you cannot stay concentrated anymore, not properly. So we have Sukhasana. Padmasana is, there is a reason why this is one of the 4 poses that he introduces as the quintessential poses proposed by Shiva. Sitting like this corrects your energy household. I used to, when I was in my early 20s, I had 2 brothers who were struggling with drug abuse and drug addiction and alcohol addiction. And I had discovered yoga and taken control of my life, and I wanted to help them. So in the summer vacation, many Dutch people go to southern Europe, France, Italy, Greece, Spain, Turkey, to have a nice beach vacation, because in Netherlands the weather really sucks. It's always raining, and if it's not raining, it's cloudy, it's gray, it's cold, it's dark. It's just, people are so happy to have a little bit of sun. So whenever they can, they go in the car or the airplane and they go to southern Europe, where the weather is a little bit like in Korea. It's almost always sunny and warm. So I would take my brother to southern France, close to the Spanish border, the Mediterranean Sea, not the Atlantic. And we would stay there for a month on a camping, on the beach. But to get there, we had to drive all night. We would drive at night because in the daytime traffic is much busier, so you will just get there faster. But it's 12 hours constant drive, so we would drive 4 hours each. By the time 4 hours has passed, your gas tank is empty, so you have to stop anyway to fill up the gas. So instead of taking a rest, we would switch drivers, and I would sit on the passenger seat in Patmasana for an hour. After 4 hours of driving, being exhausted, especially even at night, which compounds the exhaustion, I would sit in Patmasana in the seat for an hour or so, and totally refreshed after that. Well, when I was driving, my brother would lower the back of the seat and try to sleep, which is impossible in a moving car, and very uncomfortable, and still be exhausted anyway. You're just sitting like that, not doing anything special. You don't have to do complicated energy control or meditation. The energy control, the exercise is energy control. Just sitting in Patmasana. So remember that. And you should look at the tip of the nose until your eyes start hurting. That the tip of the nose, maybe I have never shown you this, but I should. The tip of the nose, you have the chakras along the spine, but when you concentrate in Ajna Chakra, you're concentrating on nada, you are in fact stimulating all the chakras in one, and it works like this. You have the crown chakra. Within the crown chakra, you have Ajna Chakra, Vishuddhi Chakra, Anahata, Manipura, Svadhisthana, and Muladhara. When you are concentrating on nada in Ajna Chakra, this is what you're looking at. Now, the nose, do you remember the nose? Which chakra is the function of smell? This one, the one in the center of the head. It tells us this is, like the previous one, a concentration exercise, a concentration meditation exercise. So you don't cross your eyes to look at the tip of your nose. The tip of the nose is symbolism, indicating that we're dealing here with the center of the head, which is representing Muladhara Chakra. So here you have the eyes, you have the nose, you have the mouth, you have the ears. The Ajna Chakra is a little bit outside the head, and the crown chakra is a ball of energy that is even wider than that. The Ajna Chakra is approximately 60 centimeters in diameter, and the crown chakra approximately 70. (45, 46). Another view. Place the feet with the necessary effort. Soles up on the opposite thighs, and place the hands, palms facing upwards between the thighs. Direct the eyes to the tip of the nose and place the tip of the tongue at the root of the front teeth and the chin on the chest. And slowly raise upwards the prana. What is between square brackets you can ignore. You can ignore half. Contracting the anus, we don't do, but we do pull up energy because this is a Kundalini exercise. According to Oriental medicine, which is based on the same principles as yoga and Ayurveda, the body has meridians. One of those meridians is called the governor's meridian. This is the mouth, believe me. The body. Very big feet. Strange hips. Anyway, the point is, the governor's meridian, let me use another color, goes from here, following the outline of the body. The legs are not considered part of the body, they're just extremities. And it ends up here. There is a disconnect at the buccal cavity, at the mouth. This sutra tells us to push the tongue against the root of the upper teeth. And with that, you reconnect or connect the governor meridian. So it's an energetic phenomenon that you probably won't feel anything. It's very subtle. But that is what this means in this sutra. That meridian is called the governor's meridian. (47) and the last one. This is called Patmasana. It destroys all diseases. Ordinary persons cannot attain it. Only the intelligent on the earth attain it. This kind of gives the impression that people who practice yoga correctly are kind of like elite. And it is true that in spiritual circles, there are people who have a tendency to be arrogant, thinking that they are better than others, which is of course the last thing expected from us. But a sutra like this gives that kind of impression, doesn't it? But let's have a look at it again. This is called Patmasana. It destroys all diseases. Ordinary persons cannot attain it. Only the intelligent on the earth attain it. Ordinary people are people who do not have the benefit of being initiated into something wonderful like this, a wonderful science like this. Now, are we intelligent because we have been initiated? That is a wrong interpretation of the word. The intelligent on the earth only can attain it. Intelligent is people who are properly initiated. That's all that it means. That can be anybody. And it has nothing to do with intelligence or diplomas or degrees. It has to do with having the right information, receiving the right teachings, the right initiation. That's it. Ordinary persons are people who do not receive that initiation. Instead of people who are on this path, well, everybody will at some point deal with the realization that you are privileged, that you learn something special that leads to a special development. And you will realize that you have changed while other people have not, while other people have stood still. At some point that may indeed lead to a sense of superiority. However, it is true. But that superiority comes with a huge package, duty and responsibility. Because your consciousness makes you very aware of other people's weakness and other people's needs. And that means that there's a lot of work to do in this world for you and me. There is no room to build an imperium with 100 yoga studios and make a lot of money. You make 100 people with an open crown chakra and who can make a difference in this world after you, and who can be part of the process of spreading this amazing system that leads to increasing harmony, well-being, health, and wealth of the people in this world that need it. It's like becoming a doctor. If you choose to become a doctor, you do that to heal people. Not to say, I'm a doctor, I make a lot of money and I can drive a nice big car and buy a nice big house. Maybe that is a side effect of being a doctor. That's not the point. If you're a doctor without a heart, you do a lot of damage to your patients. If you're a doctor with a heart, then all you care about is your patient's healing process. And you'll do anything you can to stimulate that, to help that. It's the same for a spiritual person who has had the privilege to transform, to be initiated properly into this wonderful science that leads to true transformation. And you're only human. Your energy is sometimes also on lower levels, but that is only to help you to move forward, to evolve, you cannot thrive in the spiritual world without the support of the material world. That is why in chapter 1, Svatmarama is paying a lot of attention to the material aspects that need to be established to provide a good foundation for your spiritual growth, your spiritual endeavor. So it's like a ping pong game. You will realize as a human being, there is no perfection, there is no... You notice throughout the classes that we've had so far that I feel resistance with the word yogi or yoga teacher or yoga, because when you ask me, what are you? Then I would say, nothing. I'm a human being. I'm Ron. That's the name that my parents gave me. But to say, I'm a yoga acharya, I'm a yoga master, I'm a whatever, just doesn't feel right. Because that seems like as if I'm saying I'm better than you or better than others. But part of Consciousness is the realization that we're all the same. Not even that. More than anyone else, you realize your weaknesses. More than anyone else, you realize how human you actually are, with all your imperfections and weaknesses. How do you deal with that? Roll up your sleeve and go to work. Live life as a normal human being. Don't pretend to be anything. Just be yourself. The message in the very first class, I think. Just be yourself and learn and grow. Because that is the difference. Like no one else, you will learn and grow. Fueled by pain, by suffering. Okay, questions? Let's have a short break.